actually going on? Why are petrol prices climbing suddenly again? And how much are drivers paying right now? And who will be the hardest hit if the energy crisis continues? Current petrol prices in the UK as of early 2026, the price was an average of £1.45 to £1.54 per litre of petrol and diesel. But prices are already starting to rise again. Recent reports show the cost of fuel is increasing by 5 to 9 pence per litre in just days, and analysts warn prices could climb much higher if global oil supplies tighten. In fact, crude oil prices recently surged to over $120 a barrel, a level that historically has led to sharp increases at the UK fuel pumps. To put that into perspective, filling an average 55-litre family car could now cost more than £80. Some estimates suggest households could pay over £300 extra per year if prices continue to rise. And that's why many people are now starting to talk about a new petrol crisis. So why are petrol prices rising? There just isn't one reason behind the increase. Instead, it's several global factors, all pushing fuel price higher at the same time. First off, we've got the conflict in the Middle East. Iran is blocking the port of Hormuz and threatening to sink any ships or tankers that go down it. The Middle East is responsible for a huge share of the world's oil production, and shipping routes like the Strait of Hormuz carries about 20% of the global supplies. If conflict threatens these routes, oil traders panic, prices surge, and the effects ripple across the global economy. Even if the UK has enough fuel supply, the price of oil on global markets still determines what you pay at the pump, even though the company's already paid for it. 2. Global oil prices in general. Petrol prices are directly linked to the price of crude oil. When oil prices rise internationally, petrol stations have to pay more for the refined fuel, and those costs are passed on to you, the drivers. Recent geopolitical tensions have already pushed oil prices sharply higher, and markets fear disruptions in the supply chain and expanding conflicts is just going to push them up even more. The third reason is tax on fuel. Fuel duty and VAT make up nearly 60% of the price of petrol at the pump, meaning drivers feel global price increases even more strongly than some other countries in the world. Fuel duty alone currently sits at 52.95 pence per litre before VAT is added. So even small changes in oil prices translate into noticeable increases at the pump. So who's affected the most? Well, rising petrol prices don't hit everybody equally. We have commuters, millions of people who rely on their cars daily for travelling to and from work. For some driving more than 40 to 50 miles a day, even a small price increase can add hundreds to their yearly fuel bill. Small businesses, delivery drivers, tradespeople, and taxi drivers particularly. These are very vulnerable to price increases. Businesses that depend on fuel such as logistics, construction, and courier services see their operating costs rise almost immediately. Those costs often get passed on to the customer, you and me, meaning that higher prices for goods and services are on the horizon. We've got rural communities, people living in rural areas where there's no alternative to driving. With limited public transport options, they rely heavily on cars to get to school, to work, and other essential services. This means fuel price increases hit rural households especially hard. The wider economy. Higher fuel prices don't just affect you as drivers, it affects everybody. When transport becomes more expensive, food delivery costs rise, retail prices increase, inflation will climb, and ultimately that affects everybody in terms of Bank of England base rates. Could prices get worse? Well, yes. Experts warn that the global tensions will push prices up even further than they already are. Some forecasts suggest the UK could approach nearly £2 per litre again, similar to the record highs during the 2022 crisis. However, there are a few factors that could limit the damage. 1. Governments releasing emergency oil reserves. 2. increased production from other oil-producing countries that are not in the Middle East. 3, most importantly, stabilization of the geopolitical situation in Iran and the area. But for now, uncertainty remains. The petrol price isn't just about what's happening at the pumps. It's tied to global politics, oil markets, taxes, and supply chains. For drivers, the immediate impact is noticeable. Higher costs every time you fill up. And if the situation escalates, the price of petrol is going to rise even further, affecting more households, businesses, and the whole global economy. So the big question is, will this be a short-term spike or the start of another long-term fuel crisis? Now, as America have got an orange clown running their country who's decided to invade Iran at this particular moment in time and has no plan as to what they're trying to do or how to get out of it, I cannot see that fuel prices are going to drop anytime soon. Now, experts say that within the world global oil economy, there are probably 3 to maybe 4 months of oil reserves. Even in a complete blockade, there's still 3 to 4 months worth of supply in the system. But people panic. Already where I live, there are queues starting to form at garages. Petrol stations are putting up no fuel signs already. And we're only in about day 11, day 12 of the war. So people are beginning to panic buy, which adds more strain to the system. So as an EV driver, this doesn't concern me. I will plug my car in the evening and it'll be charged in the morning. That's the beauty of an EV. However, I do have my wife and daughter who have petrol cars and they do use them. And already their prices for filling up is already increasing. So my EV is becoming more used because it's cheaper and readily available fuel. We need to stop the hysteria that the media is creating. We need you to just purchase fuel as you would normally. There is no shortage at the moment. It's just the prices are increasing, which makes people think that there's a shortage. So buy fuel as you would normally do, and hopefully this may be resolved fairly soon. Having watched a little bit of the news this morning, I don't know how long this is going to go on for, and this one idiot's attack on a foreign country has just caused absolutely global outcry and destroyed the economies of many, many countries.
Top of the line. I said, why did we just capture the ship? We could have used it. Why did we sink them? They said, it's more fun to sink them. I said, that's not.
You just suggested that Iran somehow got its hands on a Tomahawk and bombed its own elementary school on the first day of the war. But you're the only person in your government saying this. Even your defense secretary wouldn't say that when he was asked, standing over your shoulder on your plane on Saturday. Why are you the only person saying this?
Because I just don't know enough about it. I think it's something that I was told is under investigation.
Stock markets are tanking, cryptocurrency is tanking. The only people that are benefiting from this are the oil-producing countries, including Russia, which I won't go into in any major detail, except to say that Donald Trump is allowing India to buy sanctioned oil from Russia, which is being used to fund the Russian economy, which is then buying more ammunition to bomb places like Ukraine and target American soldiers and military outlets within the Middle East. But I will leave that for a different show, I think. Thank you for watching. Hopefully this was informative. My message to you is don't panic. Just buy fuel as and when you need to. And if you can, go and buy yourself an EV. But I'll see you in the next video.